Welcome everyone to the critical role of spatial data in today's data ecosystem. I am joined today by Brian and Sarah. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm our VP of Customer Success here at SAFE. And this is a topic that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I went to school for geography and spatial data. And I took a degree in geographic information systems. So very, very great topic. Happy to be here.
And Sarah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. I'm a technical support specialist. I primarily work on the FME form side. In my day-to-day, I work on cases, and you might see me around the community as well.
Fantastic. All right, before I hand things back over to Brian, just a quick run through of Livestorm if you are newer to the platform. If you have any audio issues during the webinar, just click that help button on the bottom left for 4 simple steps. Share your emoji reactions with us throughout. And we will actually have a few different polls coming up during the webinar today. So keep an eye on that polls tab. Questions. We'll have Q&A at the end as well. So if you have any questions throughout for Brian and Sarah, do get those into the questions tab. And the chat, keep letting us know where you're tuning in from and your favorite place to travel. All right, and if you would like to download the deck, you can do that as well. Just click the button on the top right of the PDF there. Perfect. At this point, I'll get our presenters to turn off their webcams just to save on some bandwidth for the rest of the webinar. And I will hand things back over to Brian for our agenda.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth. So yeah, today we're going to talk about spatial data. And we'll spend a bit of time just talking about where it fits in the organizations, how to take advantage of it, where it comes into play in the wide world of data. And we'll specifically dive into a few of our customers' examples in the second section here. One thing we won't really do today is get into any product demos or get too technical. We're going to stay pretty high level, but we will definitely point everyone to resources and next steps if that's what you want to do, or you're fairly new to FME and you want to get hands-on. So definitely stay tuned till the end. We'll point that out, and we'll leave time for Q&A so we can get the discussion going. But we'll start with a poll, Elizabeth.
Yes, fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that in the polls tab here. You should see it pop up now. And we'll give everyone a moment to vote. All right, the votes are trickling in. It looks like the majority here this morning are knowledgeable and regularly apply spatial data in their work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Overwhelming
majority.
Yep. Some folks also new, which is great.
Welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely some use cases that can inspire everyone, regardless of where you are at with your spatial data journey here today. All right, we can close that out. Thanks, everyone.
Good to see. So just to get us going here, so we were talking about vacations earlier, and this is kind of why. As a thought exercise, I think it would be helpful if everyone could take a moment to think about the last time you planned or went on a trip or vacation. I can give you my example. So 2 years ago, my wife and kids decided that we wanted to, again, New York, I was talking about New York earlier, but visit some family in New York. And we decided we'd want to jump on a train actually and go from San Francisco all the way across the country of the US to New York, which was a big trip. And I was really surprised, actually. We had major hiccups during the trip. We actually had to get off and catch a plane and get a connection because our trains were delayed and we missed one of our stops. But it was incredibly seamless to actually break everything back up and replan right from the train to get where we needed to go in the right amount of time. And I think historically that hasn't always been the case. In the past, some good examples actually on the next slide of things that are slowly been changing over the years and become different and made our lives a lot easier. And all this is obviously thanks to technology changing. Some good simple ones, just having a boarding pass on my phone makes going to the airport a lot simpler. Um, and yeah, I think just the world of travel specifically has definitely changed over even the last 10, 15 years. The other point to make here too is even today. So how many times today were things seamlessly simplified by the technology you use? Good example for me is I'm going to drive into work right after this webinar, and if somewhere on my route there was an accident or construction, my phone will tell me a different way to go, which 10, 15 years ago, that was just not the case. We didn't have that type of technology available, and our lives today are fairly different. So even finding, when stores are open or where the nearest coffee shop is when you're out, these are all things we do all the time. We don't really think about it too much. So I think one of the interesting points about that is that spatial data is behind the scenes driving a lot of that technological change. I mean, spatial's everywhere. We are all spatial. We live somewhere. We are in a place at all times. We need to go to places. Everything is always happening in somewhere on the earth. And so location is incredibly, incredibly important. And again, changes the world that we live in. So we're using that type of data all the time without really thinking about it too much. It's just been slowly ingrained in our world and made things easier for us. And so what we're going to talk today more about is how spatial is being used. We're going to show some examples. But even in really important cases in saving lives, it's really the backbone of the data that organizations are pulling from. And I think the kicker, though, is that while we do have some great stories and examples today, most organizations aren't actually actively taking advantage of the spatial data that they might have access to. Data itself within organizations, governments, different agencies, it's actually really hard to organize and manage properly. I'm sure we all fight with it day to day, and many of our jobs are surrounding trying to manage data and make it useful for everybody. And so we hope to inspire the group today to just talk about how organizations are using it and where it can be really, really impactful. But yeah, it's definitely something that at the business level, organization level, there are tons of opportunities to make better use of it when making decisions. So with that, I want to pass it over to Sarah to just talk more about the missing piece of spatial data in a bit more detail. I'll throw it to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Brian. So yeah, as Brian just said, a lot of organizations aren't using spatial right now, but spatial is such an important component. It could be the missing piece that can elevate a lot of businesses or data processes. So we don't see spatial data as just one single component or a one-time thing. We really see it as a catalyst to transform your existing data stack. It's something that can be applied to all facets of your data pipeline to kind of give you a better perspective and really help you get more out of your data, which can in turn help you make better decisions. So just a couple of examples of this from different sectors. So in the commercial space, think of your favorite food chain. They might look at community demographics and foot traffic to kind of decide where to put up their next store. In the healthcare section or sector, hospitals use spatial to improve their efficiency. They want to know exactly where everyone and everything in the building is. Even for things like outbreaks, in order to know where the hotspots are, you need records of where outbreaks are happening. We actually have a great customer story on this later on in the webinar, so stay tuned. In the food space, I'm sure we've all eaten food at some point, hopefully today, but some of your food's ingredients had to be grown at some point. And so in the agriculture space, spatial can play a part in optimizing irrigation practices analyzing soil and crop data patterns. This is all to produce better food. After that, the food has to be transported. So there was likely some sort of real-time route optimization at play there, kind of like what Brian was saying with live traffic on his phone. So we'll keep delivery drivers safe in bad weather, save them from sitting in heavy traffic for too long. So these are just a couple of examples of how spatial might play into your day-to-day, whether you realize it or not. In the data science world, we create and use spatial data alongside maps to really visualize things and see the patterns around us. So this is where we might plot points, can identify where features are on a map, put names and information to all of this. And this is also that we can find out what they tell us when they kind of interact with each other, when we can see the bigger picture of everything. So more and more companies are taking advantage of spatial data now, such as the ones here. We actually work with all of these companies here at SAFE. And with that, we have another poll for you. So we want to know, what is the biggest hurdle your organization faces in using spatial data? Is it cost, complexity, difficulties using the results, integration, anything else? Let us know in the comments.
Perfect. Yeah, I just launched that poll, so give everyone a moment. Yeah, you can select maybe your top 1 to 2 to give us a bit of an idea of your current struggles.
Looks like data quality is in the lead right now.
Yeah, integrating spatial data with other types of data as well.
That's another big one.
Top contenders there.
Someone in the comments also said data access and management of data.
Yeah, access is a big one. Just managing and organizing data where it's all over, spread all over the place, and trying to wrangle it. It's just so tricky.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks everyone for voting. It looks like most people have got their votes in now, so we appreciate that insight.
All right, so now we're going to talk about some real-world examples of how much of a difference spatial data can make. So these are actually stories from our customers showcasing the power of our product, FME, and some of the impacts that spatial data can have. So I'll be starting with this story from Blue Dot. So actually 7 days before the World Health Organization announced the emergence of COVID-19, Blue Dot had already sent out the first warning. So Blue Dot's mission is to locate and monitor the spread of infectious diseases, and long before COVID-19 even appeared on the map, they were already helping governments and organizations around the world to predict outbreaks and inform actions. So their mission is to create an early warning system for infectious disease outbreaks, and to do that, they use both spatial and non-spatial data. And so because they are handling such a huge quantity of data from so many different places, so many different sources, it is really difficult to integrate and process it all efficiently. And not to mention, they needed this data in real time since diseases can move so fast. Okay, so how did they handle all of that rapidly changing data? They actually used our product, FME. So FME is an integration solution that can work with both spatial and non-spatial data across over 500 formats and systems. We are a no-code environment that allows you to automate processing jobs so that you can take a more kind of hands-off approach to data processing and focus on some more important work. So just to introduce the platform quickly here, we have 2 main products. Starting on the left there, FME Form is the authoring environment where you build your workflows for data processing and transformation. You can totally just stop here and just use this product, or you can take things to the next level with FME Flow on the right side there. So FME Flow is our automation environment that lets you take those authored workflows and have them run on schedules or based on triggers. And this can be deployed on premises as FME Flow or hosted by us here at SAFE as FME Flow hosted. So just taking it back to our story, FME is what allowed the Blue Dot team to integrate their spatial data on the fly, and that allowed them to keep tabs on over 200 infectious diseases around the world. Just taking a closer look at how they do that. So they used FME to pull in data from a variety of sources. They had air travel schedules, maps of disease spread, climate, government data, so much more. And they got all this from the web using APIs. So the data is then integrated together and pushed into their data warehouse in AWS and various other end products. With COVID-19, the Blue Dot team actually found themselves with so much more data than they could usually handle. Data was arriving so quickly, there was new information every single minute. And FME's scalability was really the key here to make sure that not a single bit of that data went to waste. So as a result, because FME sped up their data ingestion and took care of all the repetitive data prep, the team was able to comb through tons of credible and already prepared data and construct more valuable insights into the virus spread. So this includes insights such as social distancing metrics from the neighborhood level all the way to the national level, as well as risk of infectious disease importation from known hotspots. So that's a really cool story, and yeah. All right, now I'm going to hand it back to Brian to tell us about the Halo Trust.
Thanks, Sarah. So yeah, the Halo Trust is a global organization who focuses on clearing out landmines and unexploded ordnance all around the world in areas of war-torn or conflict. They are generally there working away to make everyone's lives safer. And they've been using FME for, I think, almost 10 years at this point in various different ways. And this is a story about one of the specific ways that they ended up using the platform in kind of a novel a method. So we'll talk about that. And specifically, this was focused on an area in Ukraine and Kiev in 2022. They found that the typical method of them mapping landmines and ordnances on the ground, they couldn't do that anymore. It was just way too unsafe in an active region. And so what they wanted to do was still get that active information from the ground of where they would need to go to clean landmines when they could. But not being able to be safely in the area meant they had to find some other way to do that. And so that's where FME came in, and they thought up a kind of a brand new process that could help them. So that's what I'm going to walk through here. The real key thing they figured out was that a lot of information is actually being gathered on the ground, not by their team, but by citizens in the areas. So people posting images to Twitter or to Telegram of rockets, in the ground or landmines left over. Those images have spatial data attached to them. They're all georeferenced. And so everyone taking pictures on their phone, putting these in social places, those can be tracked and captured by the Halo Trust for processing down the pipeline. There's also interesting data aggregation sites. I've posted one here, and I'll show an image of it in a second. One called Live AU Map is one where they are gathering, again, from mostly citizens on the ground, information about these areas. And in particular, this site was really helpful for the Halo Trust. So that's where the data is coming from. It's coming from on the ground. They are not there. It's too unsafe, but they're still able to gather it. And what FME is doing is going out to these sources every few hours, pulling the information through, sticking it into databases that they have, and then, of course, helping them build, in an automated way, web maps so that everyone in the organization who needs access to that data can see that data and take advantage of it and use it for analysis. So they're really pulling this automated process through all the way from pictures on the ground to maps that the team can then use. And interestingly for them, actually, sorry, I'll show this live AU map. So this is a site everyone can go here and check it out. But they are gathering information. Anyone can put information into here. But what's very interesting is they have an API behind the scenes that you can connect to and pull the data directly into your systems, which makes it really, really easy. And of course, FME can directly talk to that API and pull the data. So yeah, for them, the result is that, I mean, they've automated so much of this work. In, I think it was July or the summer of 2022, they were able to get back on the ground in Kiev and do some of the traditional surveying that they've always done. But this system stayed in play and they realized how helpful it is. And so one of the things that they're doing now is they're rolling out this system to all the different areas that they also work in so that they can continue to gather as much information as possible. And it's been incredibly successful for them and helpful for their cause. And I'll just point out, kind of interesting, the royal family, there's Prince Harry there in that picture. They have been involved since Princess Diana times in the 90s to help Halo Trust in their initiatives. And so there are some interesting pictures out there with them on the ground helping out. Yeah, so quite an interesting story there, but I think the keys really are that automation piece, and that novel way of finding new spatial sources of spatial data was really helpful. And for a bit of a story closer to home, Sarah, pass it back to you.
That's right, yeah. So this is our third customer story of today. And like Brian said, this one hits a little closer to home for us here at Safe HQ. We're based in Surrey, BC. And so the wildfire threat here in BC has increased year over year, unfortunately. And Fortis BC has been working really hard with emergency response teams to keep our communities safe. So Fortis BC created and they very diligently updated their web map to keep communities informed of the wildfire threat. But at the very beginning, it required a lot of effort on their part. So they had to do a lot of manual work. They had to go back and forth between the real world, their maps, their GIS. They had to identify locations, compare maps, make reports. It was so much work and such a huge time sink for the managers and the emergency response teams who needed that data as soon as possible to make the right decisions. So this is where FME came in. So they used FME to get the latest data with minimal manual effort. And they did this by integrating their map service with their internal database in FME form. And then they set up that automation on FME Flow to run every 2 hours to keep the information and by extension, their systems up to date. With this, they also set up some real-time and community-specific notifications, which, of course, it not only kept communities up to date on any local threats, but it also gave their operations team a more in-depth look over the risk level for each area, so they could act accordingly. So all of this allowed the operations team to focus on monitoring and decision-making instead of laboring over repetitive data gathering and prep. And because of this automated data pipeline, they were able to focus on at-risk communities and have much faster response times. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand it back to Brian, who will conclude the section for us.
Thanks, Sarah. So what do these three stories all have in common? I think we wanted to pull a few key points out to share with the group here. And the first one really is that creative sourcing of data, utilizing APIs, utilizing open data. Where you get your data doesn't always have to be what your organization itself gathers. It can come from all kinds of different sources, and probably does for many of you. So that's kind of an interesting key one. I think the power of automation, again, in the Halo Trust story, they're able to set up the system and let it run, where in the past they would have to have people manually taking those types of reports and putting them into their systems. Having a system out there that can just gather it, put it together. You can, of course, put validation in the mix and make sure the data coming in is as clean as possible. But automating as much of that as possible is obviously incredibly helpful and saves everybody time and effort. Another thing to point out is in many of these, the outcome is transparent data shared within the organization or to the public. That is incredibly helpful. Making that data, the outcome of that data, the analysis of that data available means that everyone can take advantage of the insights and build new insights from it as well. In the final note here, we've hit on this point all day. So it is absolutely the usage of spatial data, managing it, making it part of the mix of the data that everyone gathers and works with. That is key. Data all around us, spatial, it is incredibly helpful for many different types of decision making, and take advantage of it as much as possible. So those are the big keys to pull out there. We're gonna go to one more poll, Elizabeth.
Yeah, awesome. I'll launch that now. So we'd like to know which of the following outcomes are you hoping to achieve by integrating spatial data? Whether it's, furthering your organization or just getting started. You can select your top 1 or 2 there.
The results are coming in.
Yeah, they're flying in.
What's in the lead so far, Sarah?
Right now, it's increased operational efficiency. So I guess a lot of people want more efficient systems, which is totally understandable. But in close second, there is improved decision-making processes. But enhanced understanding is also catching up too.
Ooh, it overpassed.
Yeah, it's like a race.
Yeah, making sense of data is just such a challenge. I mean, even at SAFE, we have so much data we have accessible within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's hard to pull out what we need when we need it and make sense of it.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that all of these goals can certainly be achieved with integrating spatial data. Fantastic. All right, it looks like everyone or most folks have voted now. So thanks so much, everyone. We appreciate the insight. So again.
So we'll move to the last section here and specifically just talk about some resources that we have that are key to this topic. And the first set is more on the FME specific side, how to take advantage of the platform and how to learn more about it. So I'll highlight the FME Academy, and hopefully everyone here is fairly familiar with the Academy, but it is our online learning platform for FME. We have a wide range of courses available. And there's 2 ways you can kind of use this and take advantage of it. And again, it's all free and accessible to everyone. You can take live online courses that we host. You can see those on the Academy. But the Academy also hosts modular-based training, so you can kind of go at your own pace, take different courses, learn different aspects of FME. Really, really helpful for that. And sometimes that modular-based approach means you can take a course over a longer period of time and really sink your teeth into all the different elements of it, which for different types of learners, it's a great, great option. If you're less familiar with FME and training isn't quite the right step for you at the moment, we do have another option to get familiar with FME, which is the FME Accelerator. And we have at the end of these slides, we'll post the next few accelerators that are being offered. Again, totally free. It's a 90-minute hands-on webinar, I like to call it. So you actually get access to the platform in your browser. We make it available so that you can use it and play with it and follow along with some exercises during this accelerator workshop. But it's a great way to get a very high level understanding of what's possible with FME and walk through the different elements of it. So highly recommended if you're newer to FME. And even we found actually that folks who have used FME for many years will take the accelerator as a great way to just refresh what's new and what's possible. So that is a very, very good option. Maybe Sarah, I'll throw this slide to you to talk about the knowledge base and webinars.
Yeah, you got it. So the knowledge base is where our articles and documentation live. So say you've taken the accelerator, the academy, and you're getting started with FME and you need a bit more help, the knowledge base is a really great place to go. You can also submit support cases here if you ever need some extra help from us on the technical support team. We're always happy to help. We also have lots of webinars, just like the one that you're watching now. We have webinars on all kinds of topics. You can also sign up there for any upcoming webinars that pique your interest. So just lots of resources available on our site. Everything's free, and we just like helping and seeing people get into FME and using spatial data. So, all right, back to you, Brian. Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Sarah.
There we go.
So 2 more practical things to look at. Our ebook is a great way. It follows quite closely with this presentation, really focuses on spatial data in the enterprise and how to take advantage of it. So there's a link right there, fme.ly/GZC. Definitely grab that. And it's, again, completely free. And then, of course, you can always contact us. Like, never hesitate to reach out. We're happy to always get on to a call, do a demo, talk about FME, understand what you're working through and where FME might help you. We love to hear those stories, talk to our customers, work with anyone interested in FME anytime. So definitely info@safe.com, great place to get in touch. We really welcome it. And I should also note, we didn't highlight the community as a resource, but the community is a link here on this slide, and we'll talk about this slide. But the community is just an incredible place to go get connected to your peers, ask questions, get help with FME. We're there as well as a support team answering technical questions when those pop up on the community. So great place to go. Definitely recommend that as an FME user, that you take advantage of the community. And what's this slide all about, Sarah? What's the community badge?
Yeah, so on our FME community, when you sign up, you can get badges. So that's a bit of a gamification that we have there. Badges for answering questions, for having the top answer, a lot of other things. There's a whole bunch of badges. And so with each of our webinars, we offer a badge for your participation. And you can see today's code up there is MASWG. So feel free to hop on your community accounts and enter that code in there to claim your badge.
Do we get badges too? I'm going to go get mine, Sarah.
Yeah, I think we get badges too, actually.
Amazing.
I think so. Yeah. We'll let you guys have a badge for this one, I suppose.
Perfect.
All right. Oh, and Linda just asked a good question. This might be a good time to answer that one regarding the community badge. So once you're on the community, it's on the right side, I believe, that you enter the badge code. You usually have to scroll down just a little bit. So sometimes that's harder to see. But just scroll down a little bit and you should see the area to enter that badge.
Yeah, that's definitely changed on the new community.
Yeah. All right. So at this time, I'll get our presenters to turn back on our webcams and we can take a look at the questions tab. I did see a couple come in. I also dropped one in there to help get us started. Great. Yeah. And if you have any questions that come up, please do drop those in the questions tab. And then after we're done answering the question or two here, we will also stay online for a few more minutes, just in case any other questions do come in to help answer those as best we can.
You can touch upon Emeka's question, just generally, how can I learn to use FME? That Academy link, I think, is actually definitely the best place to start. We have one course in particular called the, do you know what that one's called, Sarah? The kind of high level 4-hour one? I can look it up right now. It's just blanking in my brain, but I would recommend that as a great place to walk through the entire platform and integrate data.
Yeah.
That's the one. I can put a link in the chat for this one.
Yeah, once you get on the Academy, there's a big section that's called Getting Started. So in there's the accelerator, a bit of a welcome to the Academy, and then the Integrate course that Brian just mentioned. So that's a really great place to get started if you have zero knowledge of FME or just coming into the Academy maybe.
Yeah. Where do we want to go next, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'll let you guys, if you want to take a look and pick one out. I know There might be one or two better off answered offline, but if there's any others we might want to address live here.
Yeah, Wesley has a more technical question. I'm not sure I know the answer to it. Do you, Sarah, have any thoughts on user parameters?
I'm not sure about selecting multiple records. This might be one that we look a bit more into offline. If you want to maybe make a post on the community, Wesley, we have a great community there and lots of incredibly knowledgeable people that probably know the answer off the top of their heads.
Yep. Yeah, we can follow up with that one.
It looks like we've gotten to all of them at this point. Yeah, just a final call to Brian and Sarah in case I'm missing any that we want to address live here.
No, I think our topic today was fairly high level, which sometimes has different types of questions for it. But yeah, we're always available to chat. So info@safe, get a hold of us.
Yeah, please talk to us. We love talking, as you can see. So please reach out to us for anything and get in touch with us.
Yeah, I do see Jose just asked, does FME also support converting between 3D data sets and formats for different platforms?
Yeah, we can support 3D. 3D is one of the kind of things that we support with different formats as well. So I know Cesium's been something that people use, various CAD formats, if there's anything 3D there. Yeah, there's definitely support there for you.
Awesome. All right. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap us up here this morning. Once again, we have those FME Accelerator upcoming course dates listed on the left side here. So if you would like to sign up for an FME Accelerator course, as Brian and Sarah have mentioned, it's a great place to get started learning FME. If you have a moment to fill out our webinar survey, we really appreciate any feedback. It helps us improve the program. And a huge thank you to Brian and Sarah for taking the time to prepare and present today's content. We really appreciate it. And to our whole audience for joining us today. We appreciate your time as well.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for your participation. Look forward to connecting with you elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
Take care.
Bye.